We are about a week away from people getting their hands on Dragon Age The Veilguard. Now, I'm interested, right? Like, mostly because I want to see how quickly this is going to go on sale, and maybe I can get my hands on this stuff just to see how terrible it is, because I've been talking about it for so long. I'm just interested to see how corrupting this could actually be, because of all of the bad games that have come out so far in 2024, this is the one that I think has the possibility of being the most playable, even if it is the most insufferably written, because we've seen some of the dialogue, we've seen all of the characters, not even just the ones you create, but even the quote-unquote female dwarf back there with the big old Adam's apple. I think it's going to be a very interesting character study. So we'll see what happens in the future, and it might just serve as a little bit of a send-off by potentially buying the final Bioware game, because I don't see how the studio survives this, and them partnering with Nvidia, which this isn't exactly a novel concept. This is something that's been going on for a while. Like, when I bought a couple of graphics cards back in the day, and I just go ahead and completely date this one, when I bought two, I think they were 2080 Ti or 1080 Ti's. That makes sense. Either 980s or 1080 Ti's. I got 2 free copies of Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. So yeah, pack-ins with Nvidia, it's been a thing for a while, and by no means did Metal Gear Solid 5, especially the first one that came out with a day one PC port, need any help when it comes to artificial sales being boosted. But when it comes to the Veilguard and what we've been hearing about pre-sales and the fact that its wishlist status on Steam still hasn't moved outside of just simple artificial inflation due to higher wishlist games going to market and being released, and that being moved up a little bit, because this thing everybody can see. Like, even if you're just strictly looking at it from a gameplay perspective, it looks unspectacular. The graphics and the world itself doesn't look out of place on a PS3. I'm sure they're gonna try to sell you on the idea rather that you need you need such optimized hardware because of particle effects or stuff like that, or you need to be able to render the top surgery scars or the bulge on diversity elf in the middle there, whatever. But as mounting evidence points to poor sales, BioWare partners with Nvidia to give Dragon Age The Veilguard away for free. So this might end up, which would be even more sad, inflating the player count when this thing officially does release on the 31st. So keep that in mind when we inevitably look at the pathetic player count when this does launch. Nvidia announced it partnered with Bioware and EA to give Dragon Age The Veilguard away for free with the purchase of a GeForce NOW Ultimate bundle, as evidence grows that the game is not selling well. What is a NOW Ultimate bundle? Okay, like, I've been out of all of these streaming or Game Pass-esque services. Like, I don't know that much. Is that what we're dealing with here? But on its blog, Nvidia shared, fight for Thedas future at ultimate quality this fall, as new and existing members who purchase 6 months of GeForce NOW Ultimate can get Bioware and Electronic Arts epic RPG Dragon Age The Veilguard for free when it releases on October 31st. The GeForce NOW Ultimate bundle costs $99 for 6 months. A big half a year for $100. What do you get? Okay, the Veilguard includes GeForce RTX 4080 rig. Okay, access to RTX 4080 servers. You need to access servers for graphics cards. Is that what we're dealing with? Up to 4K resolution, 120 FPS, no ads, and 8-hour session length. Oh, so you're streaming a game using Nvidia servers. Okay, that's interesting technology. Still don't trust game streaming, because what was it? Even Google failed with it back with the Stadia. Remember that? Yeah, exactly. This bundle announcement comes in the wake of a number of metrics indicating the game's pre-order sales are not doing well, and interest in the game is low. Stuttering Craig once again coming back with his numbers that, his retail insider who has access to 800 plus stores, 1,957 pre-orders between Xbox and PS5. Not great at all. SteamDB's tracking of Steam's most wishlisted games has it just barely inside the top 50 at 46th place on the top seller side, and 28th for the most wishlisted, which is really bad. Now just looking at it, okay, cool. So we got more updated numbers. You've got it at 28th, okay, after you've cleaned out some other games that are out there. 34th on top sellers, so I guess it's selling a little bit better, I guess, and it's creeping up a little bit, and at time of recording, I'm recording this Monday night, so go ahead and adjust that accordingly if we're going chronologically. So yeah, a little bit over a week removed, and well, actually Indiana Jones, and that one's coming out what, December? Yeah, early December, and holy shit, 1100 the top sellers. Yeah, that's not great at all. We've heard from former Dragon Age employees, I think a former director, right? He's been talking some stuff recently, and now we have a former lead writer admitting Veilguard's art style leaves me cold, which is such a great departure. Not in terms of it being better or anything like that. It's just such a tangible change from the first 3 Dragon Age games. Like it was a much more gritty, realistic, for as much as you could have like a big, high fantasy setting, but more realistic to that time period, as opposed to whatever In the Blue Hill is supposed to accomplish with this. Like that, just the character customization screens, okay? Even the key art that's been released really does, like, it just looks clean. It's supposed to be the same type of setting, okay? Just everybody looks, they're fresh out of the toy box that they expect you to buy, but nobody's buying merch or any kind of tchotchkes from this game. It's weird. Like, if you were going to make a completely new world on this, there would still be those complaints, but specifically set in the confines of being a Dragon Age game, it's even more off-putting. Former Dragon Age lead writer David Gaiter, okay, admitted that Dragon Age The Veilguard's art style leaves me cold after previously bashing gamers who criticized the game's character designs. Yeah, because he went like this. And he went and tested to see which way the winds blew. And it's like, oh no, you're all bigots. Oh no, wait, the game's going to bomb. Actually, yeah, the art style is a bit cringe. You guys might have a point. Over on Blue Sky, yeah, we talked about this fruit before, okay? Gaiter posted on October 14th. The females aren't hot enough. No, they just, like, they'll look retarded. I don't know how else to put it any more eloquently than that. They just all look like they have the downs or a touch of the tism. Like, you got the Canary who's got converging eyes and they're missing a chromosome. Like, who wants to play as characters like this? This is something also that I've been thinking about over the weekend, okay? It's something that's really permeated a lot, and mostly came from me. I was listening to some people talk about just the downfall of Final Fantasy as a franchise, right? Just how, from its halcyon days 20 years ago, we're looking at this point. Like, what has happened? How do you fix a broken brand? And it got me thinking about what makes a franchise healthy. What sustains a franchise? I came down to the opinion that it really does fall on consistency and quality. It's like, okay, cool. You turn on a mainline Final Fantasy. What do you expect? You expect to have a good quality turn-based experience. 20 years ago, that's what you would get. And then they started to go in different directions with like MMOs, more action RPGs with 12, which I hate with a burning passion. And then when 13 came around, that's when a lot of people hopped off the bandwagon, because it didn't have those open worlds that people associated with Final Fantasy. It didn't have an airship. Sure, it had summons, but you had Shiva as twins who became a motorcycle. It's like, what the hell is going on there? But on top of all of that, you also had terrible characters. And that was something that just continued to plague the series moving forward. And they hadn't really figured out until Final Fantasy VII remakes and Rebirth came along. But I'd like to talk about that whole topic potentially in its own video at a different point in time. But extrapolating on that idea here, you get this and you're asked, what is this? Okay, it's from an established franchise, and people would think, I don't know, is Fortnite doing some Halloween thing? Like, what is this? It doesn't look like Dragon Age. Or even if you're having a new take on a character, it looks so much different from the source material. It is diverted so much from that. Why even bother calling it a derivative of that race? Why not just make something new? Oh, it's the same reason these subversionists always come into established franchise, because if they were to just simply let their own ideas manifest and hit the market, they would fall on their face. How many examples of that do we have throughout 2024? Let's go back to what Gaiter had to say about this. But yes, the females aren't hot enough. Yes, that's what everybody's concerned about. Yet, because they've clued into this notion, is obviously incel behavior. It's so funny, right? How they'll go ahead and say, oh yeah, you guys are just gooners because you want, you're hot chicks, you want your titties and your ass hanging out. When in reality, there's degenerate experts like sex noise consultants being brought into Bioware to have accurate representation of polygonal figures, rubbing together on screen. projection. Like, who are the real degenerates over here? It's always projection. But anyways, they've swapped out unattractive for masculine and thus transgender because that's a framing which makes them seem political instead of porn-brained. But we all know what they mean. Yeah, exactly. You nailed it, David. You got it. He added in a subsequent post, and here I am recalling how this has been a thing ever since some dude whined 10 years ago about Cassandra actually being a man, posting it over and over and over again about her giant jaw, and posting phenology pics to scientifically prove why his PP remained flaccid. Right. You take one weird example to go ahead and explain away how this is totally fine and definitely fits within the confines of Dragon Age. Until, of course, you realize that on Blue Sky, I don't know if those are good numbers over there on that minuscule leftist echo chamber social media platform, but when you're later asked about the overall appearance of this game, a day later, Gaiter admitted the art style of Veilguard made me cold when he discussed whether or not he would purchase the game, purchase and play the game. First, he wrote a question I receive frequently as of late: will you be playing the new Dragon Age? Asked whether, with a degree of, I don't know, anticipation. Like this is something I do covertly to spite the current team. Out of interest in hearing my true and honest thoughts, my answer: it's complicated. Oh my god. Leave it up to a leftist when a simple single word answer would suffice. He ends up hitting you with a wall of text. I honestly don't think I can ever play a game or enjoy the game like the other fans play and enjoy the game. Not ever. On one hand, it'd be fun to play my first Dragon Age game post-release, without seeing all the compromises and cuts and disappointments from over years of development. On the other, it's my baby. It's moved on. Okay, yeah, so he's still bitter. I mean, leftist bitter. It serves to reason. That would be his true opinions. From there, he said this: do I like everything I see? Not really. The art style leaves me a bit cold. But then the art style has changed with every Dragon Age. No. Origins and 2 were pretty consistent. I don't think that Inquisition was that much of a departure. They all kind of fit nicely within the same franchise. This one right here is very, very much a departure. I'm sure I'll warm to it eventually. Sure. The gameplay has changed. The news on choices from previous games gives me pause. None of this would stop me, however. Yeah, we know you're dyed in the wall. Sycophant for the cause. And that's because there's a lot I see which I do love. Yes, I won't elaborate on it, but I do love it, trust me. To go to these places I once dreamed of and finally see them there in all their glory. How cool is that? I have every confidence in Patrick and the writers to enthrall the fans and provide a worthy next chapter. Not a single doubt on that front. I'm just not going to play it though, so don't worry about it. It just leaves me cold, and well, you're just all incels if you don't like the weird looking characters. But Dragon Age The Veilguard, it's gonna suck. At least that's the overriding opinion of gamers that are out there. But what do they know, right, David? You've got all the answers, don't you? That's why you don't work there anymore, and you're just simply bitching about an incredibly niche game on an even more niche social media to a bunch of freaks that have an even more niche worldview. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.